Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome back, Mr. Golden. We missed
Thank
you.
you. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Missed you
Yes.
guys last week.
What were you up to?
I was finally on a plane again, but the city of La Quinta is looking at, which is near Palm Springs, is looking at mandating noise monitoring for the city for short-term rentals, and so had a few meetings out there.
Hey, it's exciting.
So you saw real people.
Real people in real places on an airplane.
Wow.
It was wonderful. I'm
Wow.
so rejuvenated, revitalized.
You look fresh, you look different, you can see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look alive. You look like you just got energized.
Yeah, I saw 3 a.m. on the clock multiple times last week because of flights and all that. But besides that, I got to catch up on sleep this weekend. But yeah, being around people for me is energizing. So
that's awesome. Mr. Ross, how's your week? Your weekend?
Good? It was good. It was good. It's extremely busy, so that's good. That's a good sign, right? Even though, of course, not still focusing a lot of things to prepare everything, like recovery and partnerships and connectivity and everything. So all good. Just closed the weekend. Oh, it's already 3 o'clock now in here, of course, but it's a nice start. A busy Monday.
Awesome. Well, I think we only have a what's with the noise today, so I think we just jump right into that, and then after that we'll go into our conversation, which is about the travel search engines, first hotel, and of course a few other things. So I will just go ahead and get Mr. Golden all queued up.
in case you missed it last week, the last major national vacation rental brands in the traditional vacation rental sector are now one. So Vacasa bought Wyndham about 2 or 3 years ago, leaving it being a head-to-head competition between Vacasa and Turnkey. So sure enough, it looks like Vacasa and Turnkey are now one. And that's it's really buying out their largest competitors and consolidating all that inventory into one big national brand, which is going to lead the market to essentially be one big national brand versus all of these hyper local operators who may have been in the market for 20, 30 years or may be fairly new. The consensus tends to be that local operators are better at it, but there's also the counter argument that you can do a lot of economies of scale by centralizing certain functions in a corporate office. So interesting to see the two that have really battled it out publicly for quite a while. A couple years ago, there was a thread bouncing back and forth, challenging one another, saying why they're better than the other. And sure enough, even with the brand new executive team from Vacasa, the transaction still went through. So congrats to the Turnkey folks, TJ and John, well done. But I think it'll be interesting to see what comes next. There's not really anyone else on that scale that's out there in the US, at least, for Vacasa to buy. So it's going to come down to organic growth at this point.
So yeah, I was gonna say organic growth, or they're gonna have to start getting a lot of little people, like a lot of smaller companies that maybe don't have the biggest portfolio or operating, teams and stuff. But
yeah, Turnkey I think was their 160th acquisition. 160 acquisitions in less than 10 years. I think 8 years maybe. Crazy, but that has always been the growth strategy. And at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised if Vacasa tries to roll into a public company in maybe even by the end of the year after such consolidation. I mean, that puts their inventory probably close to the 30,000 range in the US or North America. And from there, I mean, I think you either get bought out by a massive private equity fund who, by the way, the fund that's invested in Vacasa is also invested in Airbnb through the debt function during COVID. And I believe it was Expedia as well. So they provided equity to Vacasa and debt to Expedia and Airbnb. They're betting big on the traditional vacation rental segment and really smart. I mean, in the next couple of years, they're going to be very heavily traditional vacation rental as urban travel is going to be a lot slower to bounce back.
Yeah. For a smaller operator like myself, I keep thinking of like maybe only competition that really can come from it is the smaller people, companies, either acquiring each other, partnering, affiliating somehow, possible mergers and other things like that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt Vacasa is going to be able to drive bookings and drive travelers to their site with their breadth of inventory. The question is, can they retain all these homeowners, nationwide, and does that local service operator provide a better service or not? And I'm super confident they can drive bookings, but
yeah,
you have to have it's a two-sided marketplace. You got to have both sides.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I was reading try to improve my level. I was reading the Harvard Business Review in the weekend actually, and it was interesting to read actually that it's often, and everyone's okay, let's compete with each other, but actually so much stronger just to work together, right? You can see in what you just said now, it's like competition makes you stronger. But on the other hand, it's so much more convenient for both parties often to work together because then you can have both resources, etc. So it is interesting to see, and wow, it's a huge number what Vacasa acquired. They didn't reach out to you yet, Will, so far?
No, not at all. I'm waiting for my phone call to come in. But no, that's what I was just going to comment on was the localization of the like property management stuff. Like I was talking to a bunch of homeowners here, like where I live, that have their properties in like Arizona or wherever being managed by Vacasa, and they're all thinking about leaving because like they're getting bookings, but the overall like quality control of the unit and they're not getting the best reviews because Vacasa or so to speak hasn't been up on the guest service aspect. So it could be a hit and miss when you're at that big of a scale. So yeah, Michael, I agree they can definitely get bookings, but I think some other things might slip through the cracks.
At some point you need to take a step back, and I think we've seen this from Expedia over the past couple years. They haven't really done any acquisitions. They've really just been focused on integrating all those acquisitions and doing it as best as they can. And I think at some point, Vacasa with 160 acquisitions, like, good Lord, rolling all those companies into one has got to be a big headache and a huge challenge. So shout out to that team. I know there's a big team at Vacasa that just does that. But at some point, it might be good just to take a step back and make sure the operations are humming at 100%, and then you can proceed back. That's, operationally, it's got to be a big struggle, and I'm sure some churn comes into play when you're looking at rolling in that many companies. So, I wouldn't be totally surprised if after this acquisition, there's a step back for the next 6 months, and then maybe by the end of the year they try and go public or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Which
you would buy them again? You would invest, Michael? What do you think? Because still, if you're looking at Airbnb, it's interesting. They're still doing amazingly well, right? If you see the stock price nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see by the time it goes public where the world is on travel. But shoot, travel stocks have been killing it. Marriott's up today. Norwegian is up today. Delta is my big winner. So it's been a good year for travel stocks, and I think companies like Vacasa see that, and I have to imagine they're thinking about it and looking at it.
Well, it goes into the Verbo, thing too, where Expedia is trying to roll that out as a separate company, so they could possibly probably IPO as well, just like Airbnb. I think Airbnb, started that thought for a lot of companies and a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't think all the work Expedia has done trying to roll in Verbo. I don't see them divesting or splitting it up. It's not impossible, and it would probably result in a nice short-term bounce, but I think it'd be a little short-sighted to not look at how much work they've done over the past 3 years integrating it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But going off of the main topic for today, which is travel search engines first hotel. So we've talked about people scaling back and acquisitions, but now Kayak is owned a hotel out in Miami, and so getting your guys' thoughts on that article. That's going to be something. That's a search engine, a meta search engine / OTA, whatever you want to call it. That's now getting into the operating game. And Mr. Ross, your startup of the week, Lifehouse, is finally getting some more operations under their belt. So it's pretty interesting to see how it all kind of comes back around on the show.
Yeah, I choose the right startups, but it's interesting to see that a lot of meta search go into different directions, right? You see that Kayak starting some own hotel brand. I remember years ago, one of our shareholders has quite a lot of hotels, asking why we're not making a bedroom hotel. And he told me, Mike, don't do that, because in that case, it's like you're losing your independency and everything and your image, and it will be not good. So I don't know, there must be a reason for it. I think for sure you see that the meta search are looking into different revenue streams, right? You see now Kayak, in that case, started opening a hotel. Of course, last week you saw the launch of TripAdvisor Plus, which is most people see looks pretty similar as we do. So but you can see that actually you see meta search is moving to different direction. You see, of course, Google last week. If we're looking at search, they now you can have your listings and your promotions there for free. So they also try to get more market share there. So there's a lot of things happening on the whole search and meta search. So it's interesting to see. I think it's also connected that the OTAs, of course, they just want to just share less and less commission with meta search. I think it's pretty obvious, right? So there's discussion out there as well, and for sure has also impacted the decision of Google. I'll not be surprised. At the end, you see that maybe Google goes directly and also selling and making contract with hotels, and maybe even connectivity later on as well. So they can always call me if they need some connectivity part. But it's interesting to see that actually the search and meta search is moving, right? Especially different revenue streams. And I think the old model, which is in this case just forwarding traffic, and then in this case get PPC or PPM or whatever, then they're moving now. They just have to look and they have to innovate there as well, because I think in the end, the old model is changing. You see what commissions are changing, but I don't want to talk about the high commissions again because they do too many times. But you can see also that meta search now is changing. So I'm not sure if it's a good move to go to hotels, because it's always pretty strange. I always had the thought, okay, I'll not be surprised. Even Airbnb once is, okay, we have kind of exclusive properties, which we're calling like an Airbnb exclusive or whatever. Could be. I'll not be surprised. Maybe it's could.
Well, they've done that, right?
Like, yeah, they've invested.
Nido was an exclusive Airbnb brand, and I know they tried to be exclusive with a number of other companies. I don't know how many accepted the exclusivity, but it's. I like the move by Kayak for the main reason of when people start traveling again. They want a good experience, and they are going to tend to book with a brand that they've heard of or that they know. I think that's what Airbnb has done so well, is make it their brand, even though it's really someone else's brand. And I think Kayak can now start doing that. Obviously, they're going to benefit from being number one on the search. They're going to benefit by not paying 15% in OTA fees and try and drive all the traffic. But I like the move. Like, why not? Why not give it a shot? And you can't be good at everything, but I like companies that are willing to try new things and innovate. And if it fails, it fails. And I'm sure Freehand or some other like boutique hotel is going to be happy to swoop in and brand it their own, because hotels in South Beach, like, why not? It's going to do well. The other piece, like the boutique aspect of it, I love boutiques. I'm going to stay in a boutique. If I'm in a hotel, I much prefer boutiques than I do a big block. And the challenge is having brands of boutiques. They're super hyper local. I'm in the hospitality industry, but even I don't know all these the best boutique in Charleston or the best boutique in Krakow. Like, I don't know those things. But if Kayak's thought or idea behind this is to build kind of a truly boutique brand, I love it. If they're trying to compete with Marriott, it's going to be a challenge.
Well, my question is, are they going to push? I was going to say, are they? My thing
would
reminds
me of something. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It reminds me of something. You said, okay, the best boutique hotels collection. Sorry for interrupting, but actually, I think it's 15 years ago I built a brand. I think even the website is still live. I have to check it. It's called bestboutiquehotels.com, and I was making a selection of the best boutique hotels around the world. Those hotels become kind of a member, part of the collection. Went quite successful, but at the same time, I had my travel agencies. I couldn't combine anymore at the end. I think it's still live, but we didn't charge at the end the annual fees. But it was pretty interesting business, actually. So we create kind of a collection of the best boutique hotels all over the world. They get a certificate, and they're just getting a door plaque and everything. So I do believe it's something like this. It is interesting. You don't see many brands. You see Indigo a bit, right? You see the Indigo brand is quite of IHG. It's pretty focusing more on the boutique hotel brands. But if you go back to Kayak, we talked about it many times. Now it's a time to experiment, right? It's just launching it, just see what is the response. So now you can do it. Everybody's more than open. Okay, if they experiment because they have to, it's fine, right? You don't lose your phase, or you just don't. So it's good. And you see, again, I mentioned TripAdvisor launching a different business model, which in this case, they can also prioritize there and monetize differently. You can see now with Kayak is doing something. So I like it when they're experimenting, right? It just, why not? And I think it's now also the time to do it. Now it's yours, Will. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say my thing would be like, is Kayak now, when it comes to properties in Miami Beach, are they going to be pushing their brand on top, like no matter what? So it's like, obviously, yes, the answer is yes, but how is that going to?
Even if the answer is no, the perceived answer is always going to be yes, right? So it's still going to be a challenge for them to figure out and navigate.
Yeah, but that's why I'm glad they brought in a real operator. They didn't just be like, all right, Kayak team, you're going to go operate this hotel, even though you've never worked in a hotel in your life. I'm hoping that that's the reasoning behind bringing Lifehouse in, is because these are professionals, these are operators that do understand the in and out of a hotel workings. Like, granted, we do too, in the sense of search engine and revenue and how to increase views to bookings and blah 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 blah. But I think that's going to be the standalone factors that they've actually brought in real professionals to operate, and we'll see what happens. I agree on everything else. That why not now? Why not implement new technology? Why not?
Yeah, I raised my finger before we're talking to each other again. So, but no, but I think in this case, what is indeed, they have the traffic, right? So they have the traffic in there. What you said, okay, they just don't have to pay this 15-20% commission and anything. They're controlling the booking, they're controlling the data. So if you have the traffic, right, now they can monetize it differently. So it took them, of course, years to build up the traffic. Now they can experiment a bit. And if it works, you might see that they're just launching more in different locations, right? Now they know that if somebody's searching for South Beach, probably they will appear number one in there. So they can push their bookings. So it does make sense.
I mean, it could also be a test with Lifehouse. Maybe they're looking at acquiring Lifehouse, and this is a fairly cheap, effective, maybe even cash flow positive way of testing how good they are. So you can look at it from lots of different angles, but regardless, like, now is the time to try new things. And I have this feeling that come summertime, if you can't make money in travel, then you probably shouldn't be in travel, because it should be wide open. It should be like people are dying to get out and paying super high premiums. I booked a flight in January to Scotland for later this year, and I went back and looked at how much it would cost me. It's $2,000 more now than what I paid 2 months ago. So it's like people are gonna get out. They're gonna be traveling. I think despite the media's efforts of making us all even more scared of COVID now, all the numbers are looking really, really favorable. Vaccines are being rolled out. Like travel should be wide open by summer.
Yeah. Well, I also kind of like the overall comment in the article is that they're also going to be implementing OpenTable, which is another part of like the kayak price line. Price, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're just going to implement all these technologies to create a hyper focus, but like hyper tech focus, but then the local aspect, which will play into, like you guys are saying, like the premiums are going to go up. So they're going to be able to see all this data with restaurants and how people, like my thing is now that they have access to all this data in different destinations, if this works out, they're going to be able to tell what next market to go into immediately. They're going to know exactly without having to question. The only question that will be is what street are they going to be on, or how many blocks from the beach or downtown are they going to be versus the actual destination itself. So
sure, they have that data too, right? Like they know exactly what areas book and what price points book and where the best margins are. Like they have all that information. The missing piece is an operator, and Lifehouse seems to be doing really good things and leveraging technology instead of human capital. And I love it. I think it's a great bet on what the future of hospitality is going to look like. And I hope Kayak keeps it not a super niche, but like a trendy, cool boutique feel with every different location maybe having its own vibe, not making it a big box. But I like the move.
The only risk, of course, is the experience, right? Because they have to make sure if somebody goes to like a kayak hotel, because as soon there's negativity around this brand, or even though, because people making the link, right? They're making the link between, because the property is kayaked. If you're making it, I mean, so it's like kind of the same. So people, they have to make sure that the people has a great experience in there. Especially, first of all, it's the first, right? It's important. Second of all, it's of course Kayak is known for meta search reviews and everything related there. So they have to make sure that the property is doing well, and because
it will. It's going to book like crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
I will be number one in search results, so for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be number one on Kayak, on Booking, on Priceline.
I was gonna say, if they're looking for an operator for their new destination that they acquire a new property, I'll put my email in the comments just in case anybody's looking. But we have a couple of viewers watching live, so I'm just gonna put it out there. If you guys like what you've heard or agree or maybe disagree, let us know. Send a comment. We can definitely talk about your point of view and perspective on what we've been talking about with Vacasa and Turnkey, Kayak, and getting into its own hotel. But if no comments, that's totally okay. We appreciate you guys watching us live. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered a lot in this last 25 minutes. Anything you guys want to leave the audience with on a final note? Any obviously I'm not going to ask for exciting news with the companies, but if you have anything that you guys are looking forward to, any other final thoughts on the conversation of Turnkey or Kayak?
Yeah, well, NoiseAware rebranded last week. I'm repping kind of the old brand right now, but that was an update that I can share now. So go check it out. The logo is now a musical rest symbol, which means the absence of noise, which fits in quite well with the NoiseAware brand. And then being out in La Quinta makes another municipality that realizes that if you can solve noise as a problem, then short-term rentals and long-term residents can coexist much happier. And I think that's a trend we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the short-term rental space. I think this year and next year for sure.
That's awesome. I saw the rebrand last week and was like, yeah, Looks good, especially because I was a 5-year trumpet player, so I know all that symbol and music notes. And I was like, "Oh, that's clever branding." I was really impressed.
Super clever.
Yeah. How about you, Mr. Ross?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, and that just came up to my mind because you see that the meta search are changing, right? They're going into becoming a booking platform. You see TripAdvisor Plus, they want to facilitate bookings. You can see that Kayak is moving into, in this case, operating hotels. I'm just curious what the OTA is going to do. Are they just changing as well? Are they going into, for example, into meta search? I'll not be surprised. Okay, we have the source there. Maybe how can we monetize the traffic on our platform? Of course, they're monetizing not by commissions. At the end, there's more competition out there if you're looking at meta search, Google, etc. So I'm curious if the OTA is going to make any moves, and if they go into maybe as well in branded hotels, or if they're going more into meta search as well, providing more services. I'll not be surprised if they're also looking how we can monetize.
Booking and Expedia already have meta, don't they? Right.
Well, I use it as a search with Book, of course, on Bidroom, or you book somewhere else. But again, for searching is not bad. But I think still, I'm curious if they're going to monetize differently. Then, so of course, they have their commission. You can see the integration with the other brands, with even the OpenTables is still minimal. You can see, of course, there's a link between Kayak and between Booking, of course, Priceline. So I'm curious if they're going to go also into different areas, maybe for conversion. Maybe it's okay if we don't on this transaction, probably don't transaction, we can still earn somewhere else. Curious if they will make different moves in the future as well. But let's see.
That'll be part 2 of this episode, whenever it happens, if it happens. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. It was a good episode, good stuff. And we do have a comment from our from one of our audience. She said, "I missed the earlier part of our talk, but ultimately, do you think generally small boutique vacation rental managers are better or worse off for the Vacasa turnkey deal?" I'll give it rapid fire answers to Golden first, and then after Golden, we'll go to Ross.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're going to be better off. You're really now only competing against one brand who's dumping marketing spend in your market versus 2 brands who are dumping marketing spend. So at the end of the day, you're going to benefit from any inventory that they don't have with guests that are trying to go to those markets. They're going to trickle into your homes. And then those homeowners, they might have a look at Vacasa when they typically would have looked at Vacasa turnkey and your company or other smaller ones. Most people like to look at several different companies before they sign up. And I think with one of the big ones removed, you've got that much better of a chance to be the winner.
Yeah, I was going to say the overall for us, what we've been learning is that we can actually watch a lot better. Now that everyone's kind of consolidated, we can, as a smaller brand, we can watch and observe and implement strategies, or even just think of how can we compete in that sense. So that's kind of what I think too. I think it's a good opportunity for small operators or even operators with less than a couple hundred to really focus in on what they can do to out compete TripAdvisor and
yeah, I think it's a win-win. The Vacasa turnkey coming together is a win, and the local operator gets a win out of it as well.
Totally agree. I think for any thoughts on your end, Ross?
Fully agree. I said before as well that sometimes cooperation is better than competing, as I just read nicely this weekend. So I think, of course, not always the case, but I think in this case, especially in consolidation, travel, and everything, what Michael said, if you're paying double and everything, it makes sense, right? So good work.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
thanks, Sharon. Good question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good question. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to close this out here, and yeah, see you guys next week. I'm excited to see what happens in the industry that we can talk about and see what predictions we can make with our great minds. It seems like things come true on Good Morning Hospitality.